All right, let's talk about the brain and neural circuitry. Okay, as we get towards the end, we know that in certain, let's say, situations like Parkinson's disease, dementia, maybe Alzheimer's, maybe, let's see what else, stroke. Okay, and that can vary widely depending upon where the stroke happens in the brain. But when a neural circuit is compromised, other circuits will be developed. Well, here's where we begin our top-down training. And to me, this is really exciting because there's so much here we can learn about retraining the brain to help improve movement and reduce falls. All right. Neuroplasticity is a buzzword, but it's very appropriate because it's defined as the brain having the ability to reorganize and create new neural pathways to adapt as it needs. All right. Now, for example, in Parkinson's, we know that the substantia nigra is still functioning, but it's now outsourcing to the cerebellum, maybe the frontal area. It doesn't even matter where, but is redirecting and outsourcing to develop as new movement control centers. Well, this happens through, excuse me, repeated training. When we learn to do something, what happens is electrical synapses happen between neurons. The more they happen, the more we practice what we're doing, then the more these synaptic firing patterns happen. And then eventually the neurons wire together. And I think it's Carla Schatz, who's now at Stanford, is the one who actually originally said neurons that fire together, wire together. She's the original one behind that. I want to give credit where credit's due. When you learn how to ride a bicycle, you're probably not so good at it, right? But you get better because you keep practicing. As you practice, these synaptical firing patterns happen, neurons wire together, and then it becomes your bicycle riding set of neural pathways. And then if you don't ride for a few years, and then you get back on, you don't have to relearn usually because you might be rusty for a couple minutes and not functioning that well. But after 2, 3, 4, 5 minutes, 10 minutes, you're off and you're riding because you fired up those pathways that have been kind of sleeping for a while. Okay. They didn't have to rewire, they just need to be fired up again. And I won't take the time to go through a list here. There are countless things we can do to retrain the brain. Let's move forward. We want to challenge our patients by implementing cognitive training during focused movement, of course, in a safe environment. We want to make sure they're challenging them and not hurting them. Okay, why are we doing that? We want to improve dual tasking skills, multitasking abilities. This is very, very important. We also want to, with our goal here, is develop improved movement skills that transfer from our sessions to activities of daily living. And I can't emphasize how important this is because we don't just want to have people come in and just work out and train. We want to have them walk out the door and be able to move better and have a reduced risk of falling. I also want them to hopefully think sharper cognitively. We know that this, and here's the phrase I just said, neurons that fire together, wire together. Frequent repetitive training to develop a new ability or skill causes formation of these synaptic firing patterns that I already mentioned. And the more we do it, the more solid the connections and pathways get. All right, so we want to maximize neuroplasticity. Now, we know if we practice stuff, eventually it's going to probably kick in and we'll get better at it. But I want to talk about how to maximize neuroplasticity. Again, this is from Stanford. Children and young adults, basically the age 25 and under, are highly neuroplastic. Okay, exposure alone can prompt the creation of, there's a typo, new neural circuitry. The brain customizes itself based on experience. Adult brains are less plastic. That would be over the age of 25. So we have to practice what Dr. Andrew Huberman says from Stanford Huberman Lab, self-directed adaptive plasticity. He's the one who coined that phrase. Credit goes there. So we direct the changes in our brain by implementing two primary steps. And here is step one: extreme focus or chunking of learning. 1 minute, 30 seconds, 2 minutes, 5 minutes, whatever you can do during a learning activity or a learning event. Hyper focus. All right. Short bouts of extreme focus and deliberate effort are what we need to do for step one. We know that there's a noradrenaline release during these periods of focus. It can cause this feeling of strain and discomfort. However, also, so that chemical there, neuromodulator neurochemical, can cause you to feel strain. However, during this focused effort, acetylcholine is released at the synapses involved in what's being learned. This marks the neurons for strengthening. Okay, so to get through the strain, I recommend attach a reward to the effort. For example, you're doing something that's a little bit, is strenuous, but you're thinking, oh, this is effort and on. Well, think this is me getting better. This is me dual tasking better. This is me reducing my chance of fall risk. All right. Step two is sleep. Sleep-like state. All right. Sleep, meditation, etc. New neural pathways and circuitry are best formed and strengthened during sleep. So it's a two-step process, folks. Hyperfocus and sleep when you're practicing hyperfocus and on anything that you're trying to learn. So we want to train both motor and cognitive at the same time in an effort to improve movement, reduce fall risk. Here's where we get into three primary, and there are lots of domains, many domains of cognition that we can practice during movement. Let's just talk about the three primary plus one additional that's a combination of two. Direct recall. You're doing some type of movement, could be just walking, could be marching, could be going through an agility ladder, could be boxing, anything. Have your patient or your client tell you something like names of their friends, co-workers, family, children, grandchildren. This is tough for some people, folks. So that's direct recall. Spelling words, name a capital of a state or a country, and then spell that word forward, maybe spell it backwards. Spatial awareness, have them, let's say, describe how to get from where they are to their favorite restaurant. Have them take you on every street, all the stop signs, the stoplights, the highways. This activates the cerebellum in a different way and the brain in a different way. All right, so that we're making neural pathways differently than through direct recall. And then decision making. For example, I use a lot of reactive training lights. So when they punch, I might say, okay, right hand punches red light, left hand is blue, right foot is green, left foot is yellow. And once they're assigned these things, when the lights light up, they need to decide what the assignment is and then hit correctly. Another one is used in parkour. In fact, in England, every time I teach in London, I go to the Parkour Generations. We're near Trinity Buoy Wharf. Parkour is beautiful because it involves a set of, let's say, spatial and decision-making skills. They have objects and you have to decide, how am I going to get past this obstacle? All right, over it, under it, or around it, or through it. And that has been a great way to work on the brain and movement at the same time.